Well, here we go for another live stream of Two Geeks Talking. This is a rare occurrence for me. And I just want to say, first off, thank you, everyone who has actually stopped by and supported the show over the past 16 years, or as I called it for this particular live stream, it is the decade and a half plus 1 year. Helps if I mute the other show, just in case. But we are quite definitely going to have some fun here today. We got some guests coming up. We have a few surprises maybe down the road here. I know this just is one of those things where you never know how long you've done a show without actually looking back on what you've actually done. And I've done over 1,200, at last count, it's been over 1,200 interviews on Two Geeks Talking, from our humble beginnings, a bit of a history lesson for those that don't know anything about the show whatsoever. This show was originally called Two Geeks Talking, or TGT, Two Guys Talking, Webcomics. That was the original premise of the show, because my good friend Phil Hofer, a very talented individual in computer programming, way back when, wanted to create a webcomics.com database of all the webcomics on the internet. And back in 2008, the webcomics at the height of the popularity was there. And so he had a list of over 4,000 webcomics. And so how this podcast came to be was just a simple question that we all ask ourselves now. Hey, we should start a podcast. It's not quite as exciting as you may experience, but doing a podcast in 2008 was kind of the forefront for showcasing really independent and creative talent in the webcomic community. And so because of Phil being busy, we decided to become co-hosts and created the show TGT Webcomics. By about episode 60, Phil moved on with life, and now I have continued on the show for these past 15, now almost 16 years. And it's been a wonderful experience because I've met so many talented and creative people, some still with us, some not, and others have moved on to, say, DC, Marvel, or other amazing creative endeavors in this amazing world of entertainment. And that's why in about 2012, I moved on to video and started doing Two Geeks Talking as the show itself. So that's a brief history lesson. So what are our numbers for these past 16 years? Well, glad someone asked, because it's just in the top of my head. And just give me a second, pulling up here. So over the past 16 years, and it's actually been 2010 is when I started the actual Two Geeks Talking YouTube channel. But the lifetime views on YouTube has been over 651,000 views. It has had over 30,000 watched hours since 2010. As of right now, as of this recording, as of this live stream, we have had over 949 subscribers. Would really like to get to that 1,000 mark, but that takes time, that takes effort, and it takes your amazing support throughout the years. And hopefully you continue to support this through your subscribers and sharing the shows and the interviews I've done as well too. Looking at this though, the podcast, which I just recently brought back over the past 2 or 3 years, has had over 700,000 downloads since 2008. That's a huge number. That actually surpasses everything that I've ever accomplished to date. And it's been a wonderful time bringing the podcast back, because audio is still just as powerful as video these days. But this year's been rather interesting because a couple of things have happened to me more recently, and it has been this. This will be the end of this 1-year contract that I had with a radio station, I should say, out of Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM. Straight Talk Radio. And for the past year, on Saturdays and Sundays at 7 p.m., you've been able to hear past interviews over the last few years of Two Geeks Talking down south in the States. And it's been a wonderful experience and a nice batch of eyes and listeners. And it's gotten between 12 to almost 30,000 listeners per month. And that's amazing. I can't thank everyone down there enough for that. We've had a few recent interviews as well too that have been just amazing to have past guests back. From an amazing interview, if you haven't had a chance to look at it, Jonathan Bogner, which was back in February, He's an executive producer for reality television, TV shows, etc. He had a heart transplant. He lost the ability to speak, and perseverance is really the theme of his particular interview. Monty Nero came back to the show. We talked to him a few years back talking about Death Sentence, which was his amazing series that he did a few years back. He came back talking about Death Sentence Cyberpunk, which is a beautifully drawn, amazing series if you haven't had a chance to watch that. Going across the pond, we had Swazik Jaffrey. She is the very talented comic creator of A Good Sport and a past guest from a long time ago who's now a publisher. Tara Madison Avery, who is from Stack Deck Press, was the one that published that particular comic. So if that was a really fun interview to have, got to talk about the European influence in comics and, of course, her style in terms of how she created A Good Sport. And, of course, the gay games and the Olympics and things like that back in when she wrote the book. One thing that I have done more recently is done cross promotion for podcasts where I've been a guest on other people's shows. And I got to thank Rena Friedman Watts specifically from Better Call Daddy. She's put me in touch with some amazing, talented people specifically. And one of the persons that I was able to not only have on our show, on Two Geeks Talking, but I was also a guest on her show, the Creative Solutions podcast, is Isolde Trachtenberg. She's a very extremely talented, multilingual person, very talented in many different areas. She sets her mind to it, and she has an incredible podcast talking to some very high-level creative people on her show. So you should really check out the Creative Solutions podcast. Stephanie Nina Pizzarillas came back as well, talking about her creative anthology of prose and poems and amazing books with what she's created. I've had actress Miranda Roldan on the show. She's recently was on Blacklist. She's a podcast host as well as a new mother as well. So we got to talk about being a mother and being a podcaster and, of course, being an actress in this amazing world and how does she stay creative and with so many balls in the air. George Gant, Beware of Toddler comic creator, came back on the show as well more recently. Hadn't talked to him in a while. It was great to have him back on the show. He's done some amazing work with Beware of Toddler. You got to check out his comic there too. And then Academy Award winner John DeNicola, who of course was the co-writer and creator for Hungry Eyes and She's Like the Wind, of course from Dirty Dancing, that amazing cult classic soundtrack. So that was pretty amazing in that respect. So there's been a lot of really great, more recent interviews that I've had on the show, and I can't thank everyone enough for supporting it, downloading it, sharing it. It's been one of those things where I really appreciate all the support, and I can't thank everyone enough for their actual time and effort that it takes for me not only to put these together, but also to listen to it and to download it and to maybe brighten someone's day, hopefully. And that's what I love doing here today. And that's what I've loved doing for the past 16 years. So I always love having past guests on the show. And really, I'm horrible at this because I'm the only one doing this. I forgot banners. I created banners specifically for this. So we were just doing the introduction bit of the actual show itself. And what I love doing is having guests on the show. And I think it just comes back to people that want to support the show, people that want to come onto the show. And I just put out a very quick blurb. Who would like to come on, talk about, themselves for 5 minutes or so. And a few people have actually said that they're going to come on the show, but we just have one currently here today. A couple of years back, this amazing, talented creator, John Murphy, came to the show with an amazing comic series. I want to bring him on the show because it has been forever since we chatted. And we have John Murphy on, of course,
Howdy.
Cosmic Debris Comic. How you doing?
Doing well, Kurt. It's good. It's great to see you again.
It's good to see you too.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
We were kind of chatting earlier here today, and when you came on the show, it was a couple of years back, and we were talking about Cosmic Debris issues 1 and 2. You were putting together a campaign there. It was a great sci-fi romp and story here, but what's been going on with your life? It tell us all the creativeness that you've been going through.
Well, there's a lot been going on in between the issues where we left off on just the second issue there and getting the world set up. We had a lot of world building to do. We had a lot of deciding to, who are these characters going to be, and how are we going? We know we want to talk about in big broad strokes, but how are we going to dial this in exactly, so we can, have everything smooth and, running the way we want it to, and and of course there's, everything else that has to take place. And all that stuff to get things, keep things running. So we've arrived at a place where we're really happy with the characters now, and nice. Where this five issue arc is going to land, and how it is that we're going to talk about, again, these broader strokes that we were looking at, and these kind of power dynamic. Power over versus power with dynamic, and how that's reflected in ideologies and thus in governance, and how that that's there. But we want to talk about that too in a more focused fashion with our main characters, and get them to develop along and without spoiling anything. That's basically what's been going on there. So it's really like it. I just got done with with cleaning up the inking basically for the third issue, and it's allowed us to move forward with the layouts for issues 4 and 5. Nice. So which is just really exciting. So. All of us are excited to move forward on this, and now the timeline will be accelerating.
But it's great the fact that when we chatted last, in reading issues 1 and 2, I just loved that sci-fi world that you were building. I love the fact that you had such amazing just characters you could attach yourself to, and I think that's what was really inspiring about the world you were building, because they were relatable in some way, shape, or form. I mean, maybe not the mass murdering, quote unquote villain of your series, but the other guys were really good.
Yeah, we're going to, and we're going to be kind of reeling these characters in and further defining them. Otto, our guy who's in command of big, broad, sweeping mass murderers, and autocratic, very downward pressure type governance, and then our mercenary guy who's we're going to get into some of his backstory and circumstances there. Nice. And we'll be getting into more of the family ties and the estrangement and who is related to who, and entering a redemptive arc with one character, which will be exciting. So we'll be kind of, again, getting into this power over versus power with dynamic, both with the characters and their personal relationships, as well as reflected in this broader sense with the big, what's happening ideologically and government wise in this universe. And of course, tying it all together is this element that nobody can quite put a finger on, that we use as the kind of lucid dreaming, kind of psychedelic induced trance, and this character that keeps popping up that facilitates that, this Newton Dreamwalker. So we're going to get more into how these worlds tie together and how these characters come together to what I really enjoyed about this is setting up this really big fight and stuff, and then taking it in this direction of these characters, in my opinion, end up really saving each other in the end.
That's awesome. And of course, Barney is here from Story Comic. hop on in, Barney, as well too. You gotta click on that link, and you're up second. Just a heads up on that. So then I was curious, how did you find Two Geeks Talking? Like, because as a host, I always schedule people, but how did you find the show? Because I'm in my own bubble here.
I think a lot of that had to do with reinvention of self and career path. Mm-hmm. So, I've worked for so long in t-shirt design and sign design and working whatever illustration job I could get hired at, combining that with military to pay for art school and these other kind of, so you go from from one place to the other. And I had these very specific art goals. So as a result of school and having some jobs, I was familiar with Comic-Con. Mm-hmm. And I knew that there's basically these, avenues for people who are not necessarily trying to find a career specifically at Marvel, DC, right, or say Disney or what have you. And if you want to get involved in some of these other avenues and really in this bigger conversation that's taking place, then you got to do a little bit of footwork, find out who's making indie stuff, who's talking about indie stuff. And that's where I found you. Is that part of who's talking about indie stuff, and it's like, that's how you find out where all the other creators are at, in their projects and their timelines and, what they're bringing to the table. And, and that's really your gateway to kind of like the hive mind where, you can get a look at a lot of different approaches and ideas and different people's takes on space opera or, sci-fi or the story that they want to personally weave into this, kind of setting or what have you in genres and all that stuff. And so I found you, who's talking about indie comics and creators and from what you're talking about before, just like, I've checked out now quite a few of your shows. Oh. Is the diversity some of your guests from various walks of life is pretty amazing in and of itself.
Nice. Well, I do have other people that have popped up here as well. We're going to talk to the amazingly talented Jeff Haas, of course, from The End of All Terminus and Traversing the Stars podcast, fellow podcaster. But before I let you go, John, where can we find you and how can we support your own creative journey in terms of like your website or social medias?
A great place to find the comic is over Marcosia Comics, AAMMarcosia.com. You can go directly to them, our publisher, and we are a creator-owned title through Marcosia, and right now we're on Drive-Thru Comics. We're at Comixology through Amazon, and I believe we're on Comics. If we're not, we're on the way. And then, of course, we'll be in print when we finish this 5-issue arc. So by all means, come and follow us. I'm always posting updates. You can just follow me on Blue Sky. I spend more of my time there. I try to get a post out on Twitter, whatever. No, I'm not going to go there. But those are both good ways to follow me as well.
Awesome. Well, John, thanks so much for stopping by. You're a very talented person. I can't wait to have you back on the show. We got to talk issue 3, 4, and 5 because I want to lock you in for the next 3 years or so whenever you decide to finish those up.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited to share some of the artwork with you here.
Awesome. Have a great rest of your night. Thanks again.
All right. You as well. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Okay. That was, of course, the very talented John Murphy from Cosmic Debris. Check out his interview. I'll throw up an image and a link as well in the show notes. Let's move right along here. I know we got Jeff and Barney. I would do them. Actually, I'm curious. Jeff, should I get Barney in at the same time? Is that too much?
Do we really want to hear from Barney? I mean, seriously, you want to talk to Barney? I'm just kidding. Bring Barney.
Barney. All right, I have to go, Mom. I'm talking to Jeff and Kurt. Yeah. The Kurt Sasso. Yes, and the Jeff Haas. Yes, those are the ones.
Boy, this feels like a recap of the of our podcasting crossroads, whatever we're calling our gathering here today. How you guys been?
Doing good. See, you let in Barney. See what happens when you let in Barney?
I mean, I could just do that.
I have to go again, Mom. Okay.
Oh, wait. So how many years are we talking there, Kurt? How many years of anniversary is this?
I had to use a calculator because it's been forever. So this will be our 16th year. So August 8th, 2008 is when we started officially, if we really want to go. It was July 24th, 2008, but that doesn't have the same ring as 888. So, that's
Right.
why it's August 8th there.
So your podcast is old enough to drive then?
Old enough to drive, drink in the States. It was able to drink in Canada by age 18 or whatever, but
it's a long time when you whip out the calculator.
Yeah. Well, I would say the abacus, but no one knows what that is these days.
So after you said 16 years, right? After 16 years, what great wisdom all elder podcaster can you share with the rest of
us? Back in my day, no. Coffee is life. Let's start with that, because if you don't have that, then it doesn't make the interview go well. I think research is always important. Well, this is kind of a recap of what we talk about, but it's true. I mean, you got to have fun with it first off. Really, you got to be able to have good guests that come on the show, those that you want to talk to, those that you have connections with, those that you maybe have met at comic conventions. I think keeping those connections alive, no matter how long it's been, I think is one of the major things that is necessary, especially in our industry, and especially with the people we want to talk with, because you never know. What was that phrase? You never know who you're going to meet down the road, and it's always better to have friends than enemies. So,
and how has knowing Barney have bettered your life?
Pass.
That's a trick question. But look, Kurt, you're using StreamYard now. Good job, man.
I decided to break it out this time around because I honestly didn't want to create another Zoom link and send it to people. It's just easier seeing how this works. No, I wanted to give this another shot, see what it was like. I enjoyed it in the past. I don't know what's changed with it recently, but I mean, the fact that it has that StreamYard thing. But I was on another show, I think a while back, and all he uses is StreamYard for his interviews, and he could just download it and then do his changes and editing or whatever off site. And I think that's a great way to do things to avoid paying for it. So
that's a good idea.
That's always good. So I think it's just been, I'm trying to mute my phone here. I just think it's just a nice platform to have. And I still like Zoom to a certain extent, but no, I think we have another quarterly towards in another couple of months as well. I think that'll be a fun chat to have too, but
we're due in September, and then I know mine is in December. I know we're due for one in September.
Yeah.
If we get everyone on board to talk and greet and explore the world of podcasting.
Yeah.
But let's talk about you guys here, since you're on the show. And I said I'd give you both a couple of minutes, etc. And we got tons of time here today, so it works out well. Let's start with you, Jeff. Here, obviously, End of All Terminus is your comic series that you've been creating. Talk about that, how that came about, and what's been going on since we last talked about it.
Well, the second issue is about to reach completion. I believe we get there in September, for the end of September. Hopefully everyone will have their copies, depending on printing and lettering and a few other things. It's moving a little slower than I had hoped that its completion, but I think we're going to end up running maybe a couple of weeks late, unfortunately. But the second issue is moving out there. It got fully funded. The third issue, I'm 90% positive I'm going to go forward with sometime in February or March. Fingers crossed, because every time I do this, it feels like it's tighter and tighter to reach the goal. Yeah. But I mean, I'm proud of the End of All Terminus. I think the writing, because I wrote it, is fantastic. So I mean, honestly, I'm going to point out to that. I think the art's good. I think the story. You know what? I think anytime you come up with anything on Kickstarter that doesn't have tits and ass or some other like thing, you're doing something of worth at this point. And that's kind of where I am. It's something for those who are buying something other than naughty covers. You buy my book. If you only want naughty covers, which apparently is most people, buy other people's books. For people who want like non-Naughty covers, you buy my books, which apparently it's Naughty covers are winning.
I think that's the only reason to have variant covers is for that.
That's my guess. I mean, I thought of my main character, Thraxus, and having him in a Naughty like bikini or something, and maybe that'd sell a book or two. But I don't know what kind of person I would want buying that book. So I was like, yeah.
Hey, they're all walks of life, and sex sells no matter what gender it is. So,
well, what is that called? Like a rule 42 or rule
34
9 or something? Rule 34. Yeah.
42 is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That's something
right.
else.
Yeah.
Well, he's a big cat dude, so I don't know. Big cat dude in a bikini. I don't know. Maybe it worked for some people. Maybe it won't. I don't know. But I guess it might have sold some extra copies. So maybe I should have.
If you guys have ever seen Girl Power from Dave Barrick, there, he has a huge cat dude. So that's one of the major aliens of his series. So I'm sure it'll do well.
Well, what can help? Like I said, Kickstarter is a constant discovery of what not to do, and I will say I've been doing this for a while, and I will say Kickstarter always surprises me from campaign to campaign on what people will buy.
Hey, it's just like the internet. It's ever evolving, ever changing, and you just got to go with the flow and see what works for you there.
Yeah, I mean, it's don't get me wrong. I mean, it's cool. I'm also a publicist. I have this month like 7 clients looking for shows, just to throw that out there, and they all have different campaigns. So it's fun to watch, see which ones really rock it and which ones steady push. And I'm gonna promote a bunch of them, so you guys will see me post obnoxiously on every indie comic Facebook group and X and everywhere else for the next 7 to 8 weeks, which is gonna be fun for everybody. Then I have my podcast, Versus the Stars, and it's going well. I'm closing in on my big 1,000. That's my goal. I'm at 918, so I'm hoping to get there by my 3-year anniversary in November. So that's my goal. And then let's see, Monday I have Dan Jurgens' episode releasing. And then I have a couple people from Cobra Kai releasing a week after that.
Oh, awesome.
And a bunch of other people. So yeah, so far so good.
You also had I saw the Umbrella Academy as well too. That's of course released yesterday. So I mean,
David Castaneda. That was a big deal. That was through Netflix. They approved an interview for me for David Castaneda, those are so nerve-wracking. It's unbelievable. You have they give you like 15 minutes, and like I have like a flow when I introduce, like go through my 3 rules of the show. Editing, language, stuff like that, and I go through this whole thing. But when you do go that show, you kind of sit there and the guy stares at you, and then they're like, "Go." I was like, "Oh, okay." I'm out my thing, and then you gotta watch every time you ask a question. You gotta watch the clock because you take over 15, so you're just like looking over. It's like, if I ask one more question, is that a 3-minute question or a 2-minute question? You're kind of it's nerve wracking, but it's pretty damn cool to be like, yeah, I connect directly to Netflix.
Hey, that's another selling point for your publishing. Just saying, like, that's.
It's pretty cool. So. Yeah, that's one of my favorite ones. I think I had Thomas Jane released a week before that from Troppo, and him from Punisher.
Oh yeah.
And if he had just shown up in Deadpool and Wolverine, that would have been a huge interview for me. So I should have been like, can you just appear for like 10 seconds in that so I can increase my view count?
just be an extra in the background. Just walk past here at the camera and you'll be fine. That'd be great.
Yeah, I mean. But yeah, so the podcast is doing really well. So we'll have to do the same thing for my 3-year anniversary. You guys should come on and say hi for that one. That will be, November 1st is 3 years for me.
Yeah, just toss me a link. I'll be there for sure. You got it.
I mean, it's not 16 years, Pop, but it's 3.
Oh, Pop. Okay. All right, I'll remember that next time. There. And speaking of the true elder of the group here, Barney.
Am I the oldest? I just turned 48, so am I the oldest?
Yeah,
then
you're the oldest. I'm 46,
oh my god,
so.
you're the old man.
Wow.
Wait, how long have you been doing your show for, Barney?
I started in pre-COVID, so a little over 4 years.
Yeah. Okay, I mean 3, 4. I'm just saying.
Yeah. See. Yeah. I remember when I was first doing it, it was like I was interviewing these guests, and they're like, "Yeah, so we'll see what happens. It looks like we have to like close things down for a couple of weeks. Remember that when everybody thought COVID was just going to like last 2 weeks and everything would get back together again. But I think I was episode 6 or 7 at that point, like pre-COVID. So yeah.
Well, I was teaching at a summer. I was teaching at a school in Providence, and I remember this one kid, anxious kid. She's like, I heard we're gonna go home tomorrow because of COVID. I go, don't worry about it. Well, we'll be back on Monday. A year later, we're like, okay, welcome back, everybody. I'm like, don't listen to your teacher; he's an idiot.
So with Barney, of course, Story Comic Podcast, but you're also a radio station owner. That is something that is, I just thought radio was just things that people listen to in their cars, and now you're owning a radio station like that. That to me is just mind-boggling. Like
I am so excited. So I gotta humble brag for a second. So the radio station that I bought, like I said, was my old hometown radio station, and for the longest time, it's always had 6,000 weekly listeners. For the last 40 years, it's always been 6,000 weekly listeners. It's never gone up. Because I've been able to I wanted to take it back to like its hometown roots of just people listen to local radio because it's local radio, not because you want to listen to songs. You can listen to songs anywhere. So I'm proud to say that the Nielsen rankings showed up, and we now have 7,500 weekly. Nice. So we've had an extra 1,500 listeners that came back that have listened to the radio now, and it's so fun. And I gotta say, man, it's like my wife even pointed out. She's like, I've never seen you so less stressed, because, as you guys know, I worked in the nonprofit world for a while, and it was just so much stress. Having that on your shoulders of like making sure the livelihoods of vulnerable populations were like safe and living fulfilling lives. Put that on your shoulders. You only have to do that for 200 people. Like, okay. So yeah, my wife was talking about how I'm so much more relaxed. But here's weird, because I'm more relaxed, but I've realized, because I'm working in the creative field now, when I come back from work, I'm kind of like drained on, like doing creative things right now. So I was producing way more art and comics when I was doing that than I am now, because it's because I'm making like radio shows now and stuff. So but yeah,
it's also good the fact that you're able to not only do that though, but you're also you're making money, but you're putting money back into the economy, and it's a nice cycle rather than begging for money from a nonprofit support aspect. And then it's like, what else can I do to keep myself alive and happy and whatever. And that's got to be like, I'm glad you don't have that weight on your shoulder anymore.
Well, yeah, and now that being like a full, there's a difference between being an executive director at a nonprofit, because you have a board to report to, so it kind of takes away some of the responsibility. But now, as a business owner, like I said, we hired a new salesperson, and I told her, says, you can't go over 30 hours. She's like, what? If you go over 30 hours, I have to, like, the taxes go up, all these things go up, and I can't afford that. Like, you don't understand. Like, now it's just like, so like, from the transparency perspective, I showed her the math of, like, when we always talk about, here in the United States, we talk about the benefits cliff, where, like, when you make a certain amount of money, all of a sudden, the benefits that you get from, like, from the state just fall off completely. It's like the opposite when it comes from that, like, with how much money you make, you get to a certain point, then all of a sudden it literally adds an extra like 65% on top of whatever. Yeah. Because it's, especially in Vermont, there's all these, like, the Social Security taxes, the payroll taxes, and Vermont just passed a tax for childcare. So there's a childcare tax, and now Vermont has the best childcare system in any of the states now, and it's because now everybody pays into a childcare tax that goes into. So it's yeah, so it's amazing to see that the amount of money you would have to, and then like to pay for someone that goes from part-time to full-time is, it's like, this is the reason why I see, this is the reason why I see that like businesses go from being very small to having at most maybe like 5 part-timers. And then the only way to survive after that is if you have 100 employees. Like it's like it goes from like tiny, and then like, all right, if you have to expand, you have to like do it all. Like you just can't. There's no such thing as like a medium-sized business anymore in the economy. It's almost like it almost reflects like where we're a state of our economy when it comes to people. Like we used to have a middle class, and now you just have like ultra rich billionaires, and then like people who are like live on like the rest. It's like, and that's kind of like the equivalent of how this market capitalism works now, is like when it comes to businesses. That's why it's so hard to find a medium-sized business anymore. It's always tiny, or it's Amazon.
And we will never see any of that money whatsoever. But what about your podcast itself? You're still doing Story Comic podcast, I believe. You're still getting some amazing. I think you focus more on authors, if I recall correctly, or are you more comics and authors? Like what is your kind of wheelhouse?
Yeah, so I just did. So basically, what it is now is that I don't actively seek out comic folks, but they'll email me. Just this recently, I just had. It's always the folks that kind of float around with us. I just had. I'm looking at my thing. John Dexter from Dime Store Detectives.
Yep. He was on.
And then I just had some children's book authors. Parker Newman, he was just on last week. Mm-hmm. He did City of Demons. So I still have a lot of indie comic folks coming on. But yeah, and now I don't actively seek them out. So I look for mostly like illustrators, children's book illustrators, and then like fantasy and like sci-fi novel folks. Nice. So that seems to be, and then I end up getting these random like, now I don't know. I'm going to blame Jeff on this one. I get these like these people will send me messages about these podcast. What's the word I'm looking for? People that reach out for on behalf of guests. Publicists. Yeah, publicists. Yeah, it's Friday night. I can't even think anymore. I get random people. That's how I got that lady that was like from the White House. Came on my show, and I'm like, it's called Story Comic. If you want to talk about artificial intelligence and like the politics of like elections, if you want to, I guess. Sure.
It's nothing that I know much about, but sure. Let's
talk it up. Yeah, let's do it.
I do occasionally get on Matchmaker.fm. I'll get those types of publicists and a few other shows. Yeah. It's like this one show is like, we talk about business profession. We talk to business professionals and real estate moguls, and you'll be perfect to be on the show. And I'm thinking, how? Why is this the other?
Well, publicists are good people. That's the important thing. Publicists are good people.
No, good people. I'm sure they are in their various circles of whatever they do, and of course, they're great people to connect with, and I get them from I get a lot of people from the music industry actually, all because I did one interview with Biff Naked a couple years back. Now I get like a ton of them, and then I get publicists for either feature films or movies and things like that as well, which I really should pull the trigger on a few of those just to kind of get them on, but I've had no time in the last couple of months there. So
and I gotta say too that I want to give a shout out to you guys, is that doing these, learning a lot from how everybody does their interviews. I'm able to now do things on my terrestrial radio station. We're going to be doing like a home improvement show, an outdoor like hiking kind of show. So you guys are. I believe you two are experts in outdoor hunting and fishing, right? So you come on. Yeah.
On my pale skin, I'm an outdoorsman.
And my tan is from cutting a lawn. That's it. So that's the extent of my outdoorsiness. You know what? We've got about 20 minutes left here, so let's wrap up here, at least with you guys. For now, I'm gonna wrap up with a short recap, and then I'll close out the actual show itself here. But let's start with.
But I was gonna say before we go, I have to ask you because you brought up coffee. You got to tell me you're a Timmy Hortons fan, then, right?
No, I just drink it because it's kind of like it's unfortunately a national drink here in Canada.
Right.
It doesn't mean it's good. That recipe went to McDonald's. That's what happened. So if you like McDonald's coffee, that's the original Tim Hortons Canadian blend.
Yeah.
But
I love Tim Hortons. I still drink Tim Hortons. Yeah. I live further enough north in the United States where we can get Tim Hortons at the grocery store. So
oh wow. It's not the same as a worker screwing up your order, but I mean, it's close enough.
Right. Yeah.
No, I support local. I have a great local coffee house here called Red Lantern. They have some amazing local farm friendly, whatever the terminology is, blends that they create. Some are local, some are from like down south. All ethical coffee farming, I guess it's called, which is ironic because they're beans. But I mean, I guess it's for the workers specifically. So there you go.
Right.
But no, it's let's where can we find? Of course, let's start with you, Jeff, because I know you're swamped here, and then we'll do you, Barney. Where can we find you? How can we support you? Of course, where is Traversing the Stars and End of All Terminus? Where can we find that info?
I'm everywhere. I have forwarded myself on every platform possible. You can find me on YouTube. I'm on X under J House Interviews and Traversing the Stars podcast. I'm on Facebook. I have a page for Traversing the Stars podcast and for Terminus. I'm on Blue Sky under my name. I'm under Instagram under Vector Comics and Traversing the Stars. Everywhere else you can think of, LinkedIn. But find me on YouTube and subscribe. I need 82 more subscribers stat, so get me those subscribers and watch a good show. That's where I am.
All right, how about you, Barney? Where can we find all of your stuff?
All right. Well, I was just busy reading my Dadder Jokes book that I published last year. So just so you know, I can say this: I knew I shouldn't steal a mixer from work, but it was a whisk I was willing to take. So you can find me at storycomic.com. That's where all my notes are. And you can see my my podcasts are there. I got Story Comic Presents. I got Vermont Artists and Authors. So if you're a Vermont artist or author that's actually watching this, reach out to me through storycomic.com. And I also have my third podcast is called We Make Children's Books. So if you are a children's book author or illustrator, here you go. There he is right there too. And you can find me on all the platforms. As I say, once again, my name is Kurt Sasso, and you can find me on my podcast, Geeks Talking.
Unfortunately, I have so many different handles. That's why I have a link tree. Just go to there and you'll find everything. It's just easier. No, thank you guys, of course, as always, Jeff and Barney. Appreciate you guys stopping by. Can't wait for our next conversation. Who knows what we'll talk about? But podcasts, Crossroads Podcasting, whatever we're calling it these days, I don't know. I have it on my thing. We'll have to use that naming convention. And it'll be great just to chat with you guys again and keep up the amazing work, you both. And it'll be a blast. I know.
All right. Thanks a lot for having us.
Congratulations again for 16 years.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Yeah, congrats.
Thanks so much, guys. All right. That was, of course, we had John Murphy, very talented comic artist and writer of Cosmic Debris. We had Barney Smith from Story Comic Presents podcast, and of course, Jeff Haas from Traversing the Stars, and of course, The End of All Terminus Comics there. I'm sure there was others that were going to stop by here. It was kind of a spur of the moment situation. I didn't know if I was going to do this yesterday or today, but today just worked out better for my schedule overall. But, we've been doing this, or I've been doing this for 16 years now. The best way to find all of these interviews, and I'm slowly bringing back, I'm actually opening the archive of some content that hasn't been heard literally, because it's still in podcast format, since 2008. So I'm slowly bringing that back. You'll have to go to our podcast, because that's the only way we're going to be able to find it. It'll then be posted on YouTube, which is, of course, Two Geeks Talking. You can find Two Geeks Talking by searching Two Geeks Talking, TWO, not the number 2. Find the right address there. youtube.com/TGT Media. The podcast, search Two Geeks Talking. You can find it at Podbean, which is twogeekstalking.podbean.com. Spotify, iHeartRadio. It's on all of the major podcasting platforms. So do me a favor, like and comment and subscribe there. Definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're almost at 950 out of 1,000. We won't be monetized because, 4,000 watch hours is a heck of a hurdle to go through, but I don't care about that. I care about you guys or whoever watches it and listens to the interviews to get something from these interviews. That's really the main focus. The focus has always been and always will be the guest and what they're trying to create. I'm just a guy that asks questions, but I am passionate about the fact that it's been a great platform for everyone to come on, no matter their background, their ethnicity, gender, etc. It is a safe place for all. So if you want a platform where you can promote yourself and just be yourself, whatever your project is, whether it's comics, TV, film, music, video games, I really need to get more video games on the show. It's been a long time since I've had a video game month. So video gamers, indie gamers, whatever, come on. Same with musicians, same with filmmakers. I've had a lot of filmmakers on in the past as well. Come on the show. Enjoy it. That's why this platform is here. You can, of course, find this interview and this live stream. It'll be an edited version, probably in the next couple of weeks or so. But stop by. I really enjoy your support. I enjoy everything that you all create, no matter what it is. And that's the main reason why I love doing this. I get to talk to a new person, unless they're a returning guest. Then it's an old person that come back to have a conversation with a friend. And that's what I hope I can provide for everyone that comes on this show. So that is really the end of this particular live stream. I can't thank everyone enough for the continued support. It has been a wonderful journey for 16 years. It's been a lot of ups and downs as well, too. And it's one interview at a time is all I can do. And it's one conversation at a time is all I can have, unfortunately. But I enjoy it. And I hope you all enjoy it. And that ends this particular live stream of Two Geeks Talking. Like I said, find me on youtube.com/TGT Media. Search the podcast, Two Geeks Talking. Just search Two Geeks Talking. And if there's a guest, if you want to be on the show, there's a Calendly link that you can go to, which is www.calendly.com/Two Geeks Talking. You can schedule an interview there. There is both a free and a paid service. The paid service, though, allows you to have the interview and you get custom-made shorts for your content that gets promoted on the social media platforms as well. And I love working with new and talented people that want to take advantage of the services that I have here because I have a background in visual arts, communication, media, and film, and IT. So I have a creative background that can help you take your project to that next level. And I want to do that for you, not just to provide a platform for you, but I want to provide a service, and my creativity will expand because of your amazing projects. So thank you all for stopping by. And as I say every week, everyone has a story to tell. It's up to me to help bring that out. Thanks for listening and watching on Two Geeks Talking.